Now let's talk about what you would do in terms of budget and priorities. So the question is, what are your top 3 budget priorities? And we'll do the responses in this order. We'll start with Ms. Godfrey, Mr. Cabrera, Ms. Dauber, then Ms. Foster, and then we'll end with Ms. Dahlman. Okay? So, what are your top 3 priorities? And we'll start with Ms. Godfrey.
And that was my top 3 budget priorities?
Top 3 budget priorities, yes.
Okay. So, so looking at budgets and trying to figure out priorities is part of my core skill set and something that I'm comfortable doing. And I feel like for us, we have 1,600 employees in the district. We spend $185 million a year. 85% of that is on personnel, which should not be a surprise to you. Diving into what is in there would be my first priority, to figure out if we have the right resources in the right place doing the right job. Our resources aren't quite as tight as they have been in the last 5 years. Things are loosening up and we're starting to add things back. So, so first priority would be to figure out what we're spending where, and is it the right place so we don't have gaps and overlaps. And then from there, I think we have some strategic things that we've wanted to do recently that we haven't done. One would be foreign language in the elementary schools. I was on that committee back in 2008. It got shot down because it cost $1 million, which seemed like we could not do it then. That seems like it's something we could do now and the community would support. Another would be adding some resources to support teachers. We ask our teachers to do more and more and more with special ed inclusion in the classroom and asking them to do better communication with the families. I think it behooves us to figure out what they need from a professional development standpoint and perhaps other resources to help them do the things we expect them to do. So that's my top 3 things I would do. 2 of them are budget priorities, and one of them is figuring out what's in the budget.
Thank you. Same question, top 3 budget priorities to Mr. Cabrera.
Thank you. My top priority would definitely be to see the new budget. Online right now, there's a, it's like a keynote press. It's basically very limited 10 budget items. I've gotten access to something that's a little bit more detailed that has about 20 budget items per se, but I really want to see a more detailed budget. It's currently not available on the website, but the good news is that they said they're going to be putting it on the website very soon. So soon we'll have a napkin, they call it, with about maybe a couple pages, and eventually there'll be a long, thick document about an inch thick that'll be online that we can really comb through and see the details. As far as top priorities, I feel like we should reconsider the context of the a 10% minimal reserves. The state requires 3%. Consider bringing that down to 5%. Currently, we have almost $25 million of reserves, and in addition to that, we have $60 million of bond measure money that hasn't been budgeted yet either. So I feel like there's a lot of opportunities of what we can do with that money. Combing through the administrative costs and seeing how we can downsize that to bring that back into the classrooms and to the teachers. How can we reduce class sizes? How can we do more research on different programs like coding and other top priorities for the community. And lastly, I think that really Cubberley could be an amazing investment in upgrading Cubberley for 21st century educational purposes.
Thank you. Mr. Dauber, same question.
Dauber or Dahlman?
Yeah, I don't know. Was it Dauber or Dahlman?
Dauber. Sorry.
So I have 3 budget priorities I would focus on. First, eliminating expenses of the district that really don't have anything to do with serving student needs, that is, putting students first. And I would put at the top of that list legal fees for outside counsel, where we've seen a ballooning of those fees, in part due to the really unnecessary fight that that the board has chosen to have with the Office for Civil Rights, and also for, I think, litigating with special education families, where we would do better to be offering them support. Public relations is another area where I think we should cut, and we've not only have an internal public relations person, but we've actually spent recently a lot of money on outside public relations. The second is better budgeting. We have a 2% projection on our property tax increases year over year our actual experience is usually substantially higher than that. This past year it was 6.5%, and the consequence of that is that we put a lot of money into our reserves that really ought to be part of our budgeting process, and we should be making a conscious decision whether we want to use those funds for education as opposed to just defaulting to put them back into the general fund. And the third is some real priorities where we can put some money against things that work for kids, like foreign languages in elementary schools, as I've been talking about, and reopening a 13th elementary school, which is extremely high impact.
Thank you. Same question, Ms. Foster. In our $185 million budget, it often looks like we have a lot of money sloshing around, and while there is money there and there are reserves, we're looking right now toward having increased numbers of students with no increased revenues that go along with those students. We're also looking at our pension obligations being increased 19% as a result of state priorities and state legislative changes and a number of other cost shifts to our school district. So I want to put that out there in context for what some of these priorities are. I think that my first priority would be around evaluation. I believe that we need to have more focus and staffing in our evaluation side of the house so that we can do all of the other kinds of teaching and learning that we want to do and make sure that it's the best that it can be. Along with that, and this kind of goes hand in hand with it, is teacher professional development. We want to make sure that the professional development that we are doing is the best and most impactful. I'd like to see more around alignment across classes. I'd like to see more around writing instruction and advancing innovation. And last, again, these are all interrelated to one another. I would absolutely like to see some investment in innovation that would take our schools really far into the 21st century. That would include foreign language instruction in 6th grade and then into elementary school. It would include more engaging interdisciplinary curriculum across the schools. Thank you. Same question, Ms. Dong.
So, as all of you know, the state adopted a new funding formula, and this funding formula obligates each school district to develop a local control accountability plan. The magic of these plans is that forces school districts to align exactly what expenditures are being made to achieve the goals, right? And our school district went through the process, finished their own LCAP. The first thing that I would make sure is to update the next season and take from January to April to evaluate it and make sure again that our budgeting is going exactly to activities that will help us achieve our goal. The second thing is I coincide with you, Catherine. I think that we need to invest strongly in evaluation. We need to know what works and we need to scale what does and close what does not. The third thing is, again, I think Common Core implementation is a huge opportunity for our children if we do it right. That means meaningful professional development. That means student programming, investing in education technology, investing in instructional material, and making sure that that our kids have everything to succeed within this environment. And lastly, we need a facilities plan. We need to be planning 5-10 years ahead. We obviously need a 13th elementary, but we also should be thinking, what are we going to do with Cubberley? Taking into account that it's expected that we're going to be around 16,000 students by 2025.
Thank you.